I will just wait a moment. Today is March 12th, Sunday. Forgive me for my clothing. It's very cold in here, but I have no jacket like now. But okay, what I'm gonna do is read the. I'll just check myself. It's understood why someone was watching my video. It is supposed to be for myself because it is not my materials. Wait a moment. Data. There's no one. I will just share screen. So, I know, no. It's window only. This ultra handouts. But first, I will gonna share mine. This one from. Who should I share? How can I see my video? Okay, I'll just read this ultra handout. This is from my classmates review center. Topic and content. Language teaching approaches. Content essay translation approach consists of essay writing, translation, and grammatical analysis. Structuralist approach, chiefly concerned with systematic acquisition of a set of habits. Integrative approach involves the testing of language in context and is thus concerned primarily with meaning and the total communicative effect of discourse. Una ang integrative approach. Communicative approach. Concerned primarily with how language is used in communication, language is often emphasized to the exclusion of language usage. Function are language tests. In learning, measures students' ability to discover how much they have been learning, to diagnose students' strengths and weaknesses, and to motivate students in learning. In teaching, ensure effective teaching to improve teaching quality to obtain feedback on student learning. In research, related to the nature of language proficiency, language processing, language acquisition, language attrition, and language teaching. Teachers' role in learning stages, content, presentation. Ang topic niya kay teachers' role in the learning stages. Presentation. This is also known as the pre-activity phase of the lesson where the teacher introduces something new to be learned. The teacher's main task is to serve as a kind of informant. Practice. It is the student's turn to do most the talking. This stage is also called the while or main activity of the speaking activity stage. The teacher's task is like the skillful conductor of an orchestra monitors their performance. Production. The students need to be given regular and frequent opportunities to use language freely. The students become aware that they have learned something useful to them personally. The teachers take on the role of managers, guides, or advisors. Intelligibility, comprehensible comprehensibility and accentedness of L2 speech. Intelligibility, whether an utterance is understood by an interlocutor. It, if the most important of the three, comprehensibility. Comprehensibility, a listener's perception of how easy or difficult second language speech is understood. Accent, how different the phonology of an individual's speech is from that of the listener. Problems learners face during listening: mnemonics, PTILT, PPILT, P, text, types of text, P, the second T, task, types of questions, amount of time, I, interlocutor, accent, fluency, gender, language use, L, listener characteristics, P, process, top-down, bottom-up, or interactive. Situational language teaching produces accurate pronunciation and use of grammar to respond quickly and accurately in speech situations. Steps: 1. Listening practice. 2. Choral imitation. 3. Individual imitation. 4. Isolation. 5. Building up to a new model. 6. Elicitation. 7. Substitution drilling. 8. Question answer drilling. 9. Correction. Sequence for the reading process. Sequence: 1. Preparing to read. 2. Reading. 3. Responding. 4. Exploring. 5. Extending. Steps in shared reading in content literacy. Steps: 1. Introduce the story by discussing the title, cover, and author illustrator. 2. Ask the students to make predictions. 3. Read the story aloud to the students using appropriate inflection and tone. 4. Ask brief questions to determine students' comprehension level. Sequence for the writing process. Sequence: 1. Pre-writing. 2. Composing. 3. Revisiting. 4. Editing. 5. Publishing. Steps in writing a literature test. Steps: 1. Identify the context. 2. Plan for the test. 3. Select test text, scene versus unseen test. 4. Group skills. 5. Match text to tasks. 5. Match text to task. 6. Write test items. 7. Clarify making criteria. Steps in summarization. Steps: 1. Skim the text to get an idea of what the text is about. 2. Cross out sentences that are not necessary or that are redundant. 3. Choose the words and phrases that talk about the main idea. 4. Create the topic, sentence, and sentences supporting the main idea. Model. Spawn. Special powers, problem solving, alternative viewpoint, what if, next. 1. Choose what type of thinking you want your students to complete. A type E. 5 types of prompts in Spawn. 2. Introduce the strategy and each type of prompt to the class. 3. Select one prompt to model for the class. Choose a familiar story, provides short summary or any relevant background information. 4. Provide one of your own responses to prompt and explain the thought process that lead you to that response. 5. Choose a series of events from the brainstorming list. 6. Create an outline with the class using those events. 7. Have the class write a short response to the original prompt using the outline you created. Allow 5 to 7 minutes for the students to write their responses. 8. Share student responses. 9. Present class a new prompt that is the same type as the modeled prompt. 10. Repeat process. Topic DRTA or Directed Reading Thinking Activity. DRTA Directed Reading Thinking Ability. Content a versatile strategy that promotes active reading and greater comprehension. It involves three processes: predicting, reading, and proving steps. 1. Introduce background knowledge. 2. Ask questions that invites predictions. 3. Reach a section of text stopping at predetermined places in the text. 4. Ask students to check and revise predictions. 5. After the reading is completed, use student predictions as a discussion tool. And that's it, the Ultra handouts. What handouts? It's just handout. And I'm gonna check something else. Internal storage. I should stop. Okay, I'm gonna check first something. Okay. Okay, this number one. English major. Japanese poem, 17 syllables, mellow, mild, Mayday. The answer is haiku. Function word that signals noun that the strong may. Ang answer doon ay the pero for me that siya dapat. Num- Phonemic awareness word with rhymes and onset can. Competency in viewing comprehension, give meaning to signs and symbols. 5. Presentation for stage production, use various animation to ensure audience attention. 6. Intensive drilling, sentence pattern, do pattern practice. 7. Analyze title of story and initially grasp meaning of text, predicting. According to listening studies, we spend 50% communication time. 9. Integral characteristic of Chinese classical drama, music. 10. The process sequence of reading 31524. 31524. Ang sequence kay preparing to read, reading, responding, exploring, extending. 11. The car is gluten, high expensive fuel gas. 12. Give me a blended coffee. The answer is direct elocutionary. 13. Utterance of a sentence. Elocutionary. Elocutionary. Utterance of a sentence. Elocutionary. Worship sun, dawn. 15. I apologize for the delivery delay. Formal. 16. Which is a fragment. Before the rice fields were lush green. Everyone, indefinite pronoun. Storytelling ability, proficiency. 19. The players were allowed to explain their side. 20. Biag nilang ang for students to build connection. Let them compose own climax of the story. 21. Tip of the tongue phenomenon for difficult words, anomia. Hinduism teaching of karma and Sakantula. Dushyanta failed to recognize Sakantula as his wife. First step to increase students' reading fluency, prepare the script of the text. 24 does not serve as a legal basis of enhanced basic education K to 12. The answer is bilingual education policy. And in the Egyptian short story, The Two Brothers, who are the two brothers? Answer Anpu and Bata. If you ask the translator to translate the text and at the same time verbalize his or her thoughts as possible, the method used is think aloud. Reading of which one is accuracy. What type of activity picture dictation, board games, speed dating, interview, communicative? Embedded clause in the sentence that farmer applied health-threatening pesticide to his farm crops shocked the community. Answer shocked the community. Language function shown assessment is in most schools is learning is segmented. There are well-crafted assessment tools for determining learning. An assessment tool should be standardized, evaluating. Analogy morpheme answers simplest unit of idea. Analogy morpheme, simplest unit of idea. Pronoun and preposition are open word classes while adjective, adverb, and noun are closed word classes. False. Negligible in color-blind acting. Nationality of actors. The answer is to the economic woes of the Philippines blank is. Does not belong to the group show and tell. Kaya ang naa kay software realia model show and tell. Phrasal verb remains unchanged except that in speech, the first element is new stressed. What sentence has a wrong verb form? Lillian had drove to get the conference on time. The answer is which sentence is wrong verb form? Lillian had drove. Muna answer. Ang 38 kay correct order. 1. Everybody. 2. Scampering. 3. Got. 4. The 5. Howling. The answer is 45312. 45312. The howling got everybody scampering. In Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, why is Mrs. Bennet so determined to arrange good marriage to her daughters? The answer is marrying them off to good families means financial security to them. 4 does not illustrate arbitrariness in language. The answer is through time, language users will see evolution of connotation and denotation of an expression. Tanka 57577. 42. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. I have promises to keep, and I have miles to go before I sleep. Miles to go before I sleep, stopping by the woods in a snowy evening. 43. Use of native language is not allowed. Target language should be used direct. Grim Reaper for death, crossing over for dying, euphemism. Schema theory is all about knowledge. Herald and messenger of Olympian gods, Hermes. The Philippine economy grew at a sizzling pace in the second quarter this year. Speech arts that present parts information and knowledge. The answer is informative. Appropriate alternative point of view for traditional media, blog, pero tabloid ang answer sa material. Frown may mean headache for one person or anger for another. Perceptions are also interpretations. 51 speakers' use of language should be based on listeners' needs or demands that the of situation except sophisticating language by using high-level terminologies for the learners. 52 assessment that promote ongoing feedback and improves instruction and learning. Formative pero diagnostic ang sagot sa material. 53 determine the mood of lines. Daylight, I must wait for sunrise. I must think of a new life. I mustn't give in when the dawn comes. This will be a memory too, and a new day will begin. Jack Frost, acquainted with the night, hopeful. According to the principle of washback except what is tested does not affect what is taught. Di ang answer dun sa material pero baka mali daw. Okay. 55. Attaching meaning to words, semantics. Poetry should glorify God, promote religious values, enlighten readers, and help people become Christians. John Milton. The problem with many of the organization's officers is that they are often conscious about what the members think of their project proposal. So all night I lie down the slide assonance. What happens to a dream differ? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Similarly, villagers in the mining area were prohibited to go back to their homes covered by sticky mud. Answer 5. Which national policy has best describes the level educational qualification outcomes? The answer is Philippine Qualification Framework. 62. What is the first step in writing a literature test? The answer is identify learning context. 63. Which of the following is not a characteristic of formal criticism? The answer is extrinsic in essence. 64. Teacher fairly imposes rules and pedagogies in the classroom instead of allowing the students to discover the rules. Teacher fairly perceives learning as inductive. What type of learning involves the use of student-centered and project-based learning? Skill learning. Adobo naman ko eh. Most people like surfing, but in my opinion, it is quite risky. What level of reading comprehension involves the understanding of information as directly stated in a text? The answer is literal. Masthead is referred to as the blank name of the newspaper. What literary movement emphasizes on nature as its subject? Naturalism. Which of the following option is true about the statements below? He may come home after he finishes his term paper. He will come home after he finishes his term paper. The answer is 1. The sentence with may denotes permission and possibility. 2. The sentence will simply directs the future event. 71K wala siya. 72. What literary term refers to the overriding feeling on the text? Answer: mood. What should be taken consideration when formulating objectives? Answer: consideration of smart. Mr. Ramos wants the students to use the metacognitive strategy before listening to a text. What will the students do? Answer is check for difficult words. Yun sa okapi. Ngabog na. Native coffee. 75 for remedial students, what should be done next to ensure the expanded learning of students in language learning? Answer: write descriptive sentences. 76. What should be considered in choosing instructional materials? The answer: ensuring the students' achievement in test. Blank my colleagues I would like to thank. On behalf of my colleagues, I would like to thank. What is the last step in the application of situational language learning? The answer is correction. Here's the news colon. The rise of the prices of goods is rapidly increasing then comma faster than what we expected. Mabuting panahon, example of extraposition. Beginner reader cannot decode symbols. Oral performance. Disparaging terms vague. Desk corpse of the editor. Correct arrangement of the words the rain last week has been very bad. 213. RA 10533 states that curriculum is pedagogical, specific reading, listening selectively. Theme of Jacob's The Pose of the Monkey, Greed and Despair. Which sentence contains a direct object? Please dedicate yourself. Ito, excuse me. With, madali lang ni. Has proven ito rin. So, he is he? Questioning he is. Which depicts freedom in a poem no man had useful works. The girl fetching water from the well every day. Salada inisabini Grace. Salada ni Grace. Characteristics of dominant in linguistic can recognize symbols, spot errors. Letter A yata. Gerunds, nouns. Besides, 97. What 98. What to consider in dealing with learning difficulties? Answer: more structured approach plus workbooks plus interactive materials. 99. In copying, retain the statement. What is the function of reading in the sentence? Subject. Medyo lito ako di sa numbering sobrayatan name. Maurice Quantel to be considering in making IMs. They cater the needs of the diverse learners. 101 Art of Science of Knowledge Pedagogy. Task-based writing memos or notes. Japan Subway is expected. First African Nobel Prize receiver Wall Soyinka or Wally. Birds feed on birds. Man is just like animals. Skills are intricate part prerequisite. Adjective clause. The victim who was allegedly salvaged is a fisherman. Iconic visual images for real things. Non-negotiable individual learners individualities of learning. Outbreak to breakout conversion, not a pagan imagery, symbol of true. Noun clause my mother told me you know who is the best caterer in town. Lead question what? 114 my ambition is to be fortunate. Earn. Imminent approaching. Rivers Nile, Tigris, Euphrates. Haiku with attitude tanka. Planning and carrying out modeling of fluent students. Consider instructional material. One only consider the needs and diversity of learners. 119 Profanity, obscenity. 120 Blocking block of knowledge in structuralism. Teacher beta direct contact with native speaker immersion. Three kinds of complements after verbs what has an indirect object, the loving mother. In 123 English intervention program what deficiency, lack of basic understanding, letter D, keeping up with. 125 The Chinese philosopher who wrote the Analects Kung Fu Zi. While listening family tree, completing the family tree. Didn't and 197, 128 What function of language learning English competence valuing? What phonetics uses tools of physics of study, acoustic? What outcomes of remedial teaching resolution? Phrasal verbs, literal and figurative, agree. What is brave in the sentence? Adjective. Lollipops and roses, idiomatic phrases. What has allophones, pin and spin? A Thousand Nights and a Night, a story within a story. K-12 English curriculum components, four components. What is function of a noun vocative? Journalists how to write a coded story, write side by side with a mother's story. Thief of the tongue phenomenon, anomia. Sakantula Hinduism karma failed to recognize as Sakantula as his wife. What should be done first before remedial instruction? Answer diagnose the learners, which is not true about remedial teaching, reteaching, and reviewing. Type of ESP syllabus, note-taking, writing essays, study techniques, skill-based syllabus. Slang expression are the following except widely used in informal and formal speech and writing. 145 Activities of ESP except A. Answer brainstorming storming and debate. 146 Problem of ESP teacher is lack of orthodoxy. What does it mean? ESP teachers do not have ready-made, straightforward answers to the problems they met. ESP teachers, basta ang answer kay 1, 2, and 3. ESP teachers need to distill and synthesize silang tanan ang answer. All teachers are pioneers. ESP activity where students assume different roles such as pilot, assimilation. 148 Grammatical teaching that is applicable in ESP, answer teaching structures and related to language functions. Katugo na kayo. Asan ako? 149 in K to 12 curriculum, basic education refers to 6 years primary education, 4 years junior high school, 2 years senior high school. 150 K to 12 curriculum envisions holistically developed learners equipped with 21st century skills. 151 lists often omit the names of the people involved in news stories because their identities are less important than what happened. What kind of grammatical no? Okay. What kind of grammatical beginning lead with rakes, brooms, and other equipment? Students clean the road. Prepositional phrase lead. Method of speech delivery, making it up on the spot. Impromptu. Limitation if the story employs a child as a narrator. Inadequate perception. Cicero's canons on rhetoric include invention, disposition, elocution, pronunciation, and memory. Invention, discovery of best arguments, blank, delivery, language, and speaking styles, elocution, arrangement and organization of materials, and answer the disposition, process of production and perception of sounds, speech, aim of demonstrating speaking, answer to show the audience how to perform a certain task, not an example of persuasive speech. Answer tour guide explaining the floor plan of a larger art museum. 161. According to the PED, which subject is an integrated language teaching? Science ang answer. 62. Homonym of blue, blue. In language teaching, who is the most important cog? Teacher. Account to Stephen Krashen, we learn language if language is not too easy nor too complex. The answer is comprehensible input. 165 grammatical structures follow a predictable order. Some may learn language early and some are late. What do we call this? Natural order hypothesis. 166 it includes the motivation, self-confidence, anxiety, and fear, and acquiring a second language affective filter hypothesis. 167 metacognition, self-regulating. 168 two speakers. Speaker A, what is the weather like? Speaker B, it's snowing as usual. What maxim is violated? Maxim of quality. 169 voice, therefore. What 170 what is the T and the words button and written? Glottal stop. 171 why is literature important? My triple A ang answer is A. Only is pinakahalab, pinakamahaba daw. It infects the authority, personality, belief, etc. The following are true about literature, except it mostly developed the analytical skills of the learners. 173 what is the most innovative way of teaching literature in class? Create a collage of their experience from the story they have read in class. 174 if you are teaching ballad in your class, what is the thing that you will not mention? It is typically historical and condensed. 175 teacher Joanna was assigned to a remote barangay should school with no available storybooks. How would she facilitate the reading? skills of her students. Write short version of an existing local story form at the barangay man. Tapos 176 cleaning process, catharsis. How will you make biag ni lamang interesting to your students? Make a multimedia presentation of the characteristics of lamang. 178 John Keats' Beauty is Truth, Truth Beauty, Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing that preaches from the soul, metaphor. Ano daw? Okay. 179 Friends, Romance, Countrymen, Lend Me Your Ears, Metonymy. A boy has been admitted to the hospital. The nurse says he is in good hands. Synecdoche. 181 Which strategy will help students better understand K-life events of history literary figures? The answer is life and road maps. 182 You want your students to keep track of main ideas and supporting details in a narrative by letting them illustrate important scenes in the story. What is the most appropriate category that you will employ? No, note taking. In a displaying the psychology of your characters, minute past minute particulars are essential. God save us from a vague generations. To be sure not to discuss your hero's state of mind. Make it clear for his actions. Anton Chekhov, what principle is right in writing is stressed by Chekhov in the passage. Show, don't tell. 184 A teacher who utilizes computer-aided instruction is said to be behaviorism. Why do we need to use a variety of instructional materials in teaching? The answer is students have diverse needs and interests. 186. What would be a relevant objective for the use of blogs in your literature class? Students post their opinions and issue raised on the literary piece. Which of the following is important in understanding fiction? The answer is 1 and 2, realizing the artistry in telling a story to convey a point. Then 2, knowing fiction is imaginary. 188, which type of following teaching approach would suit with the learner who enjoys doing extended pieces of work such as project? Now 187 ito, which of the following is important in understanding fiction? The answer is 1 and 2. Realizing the artistry in storytelling a story to convey a point. One ang 1. 2 kay knowing fiction is imaginary. Then 88, which of the following approach would suit with the learners who enjoy doing extended pieces of work such as project work? The answer is task-based learning. 189. What does reading achievement test assist? The answer is how well the learners have learned what has been taught in the class. 190. Which of the following is the teacher's main aim in teaching giving the learners a quiz about crocodiles before reading a story? The answer is to generate interest in Topic 191. Teaching literature is seeking the students to relate and respond to the themes and issues by making connections to their personal lives. Which model is described? Personal growth and model. Mr. Ramirez wants to make sure his students' language ability against the learning objectives of the specific language course. Which of the following tests should he give? The answer is criterion reference test. Okay, Mr. Ramirez wants to make sure his students' language ability against the learning objective of specific language course. Which of the following test should he give? Criterion reference test. 193. Which domain of learning is identified in Bloom's cognitive taxonomy is addressed if a teacher prepared a language task that focuses on recognizing the connotative meanings of words correctly, processing dictation, and making inferences. The answer is analysis. Which cognitive level does this instruction address? Write the meaning of the underlined words according to how they are used in the sentence. The answer is analysis. 195. The grade 7 teachers in School A are evaluating the language test prepared by the grade 7 teachers in School B. Specifically, the teachers are evaluating the utility, equi- equity, and appropriateness of the assessment techniques used, in which evaluation phrase are teachers reflecting. 205. English teachers assess literary comprehensions in one section of students. The assessment result of the five teachers yielded the same results. The assessment is reliable. Then Mrs. Santiago asked her students to retrace the chronological order in which the enumerated events took place by using numbers with tasks, as Mrs. Santiago asked for her students to do. Sequencing. 5. Which teachers assess literary comprehension in one section of students? The assessment result of the five teachers yielded the same result. The answer is reliable. Okay, that's it for today. God bless always. And ever you're gonna watch this, I'm gonna put it on unlisted. Fine, thank you.